FUD and FOMO, crypto headlines high and low, markets move, emotions flow, it's the FUD and FOMO show.
Banging.
Hello, everyone. Oh, it is a banger, isn't it? It is a banger. It always gets me in the Friday mood. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of FUD and FOMO, your Friday live stream to end off another week in crypto. Nick, it is good to see you, sir. How are you doing?
Likewise, Guy. How's it going?
I'm all right, thanks. I'm all right. Ramadan Mubarak.
Indeed. You're looking forward to Team Iftar afterwards, right? Your first Iftar of this Ramadan. Have you been observing, brother? Have you been observing this Ramadan?
I haven't.
I saw you grab those snacks in the desk today.
Yes. I didn't manage to fast the whole day before the iftar tonight, but yes. Very Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem to anyone celebrating, maybe see you at the iftar later. So, Nick, there's a few things that we were going to discuss today. Obviously, as you will have noticed, folks, it's just Nick and myself today. Lewis is elsewhere. We were going to get Aaron to fill in, the wonderful Aaron Dishner, but he had something come up last minute. So unfortunately, it's just the two of us. You're just going to have to make do with the two of us, I'm afraid. But
sorry, guys, couldn't do it, man.
That's fine. That's fine, isn't it? They'll get through it. They'll survive. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, we're going to do a quick kind of update on the market, on where crypto is at the moment. If you don't want that, tough, we've got to do it. We've got to have a look. Then, rather than looking at where the bottom is, because that's what Aaron was going to talk us through. So we'll maybe get him on the next stream in a couple of weeks' time to talk us through that. But instead, we're going to kind of look at what's happening, the situation in the Middle East at the moment, because that is getting a little bit hairy. And that is obviously going to have an effect on markets, probably quite a large effect, actually. And then we're also going to do a quick update on where we are with the Clarity Act, which is, in case you hadn't noticed, basically the only sort of crypto catalyst we can.
Last chance saloon at the hospital pass. That's what.
Absolutely. So so we'll give you a bit of an update on that. There may actually be some good news there. So that'll be nice. But let's kick off. Nick, do you want to talk us through? I know you've got some charts that you're itching to share.
Yeah, I got some charts. Let's take a look at some price action, guys, because unfortunately, it's not good news in terms of what we're looking at on the charts. Let me just add it to the charts right now. So first of all, we've been tracking this for the past few weeks, and this is the weekly chart of Bitcoin. And ever since we broke through the 100-week moving average, we've been going down. Every single week we've been closing as a down week. We closed down. It's now on our fifth close there. And this means, therefore, that it will be the fifth weekly close this week. Indeed, the fifth weekly close that's negative, and the fifth weekly close that's below the 100-week moving average, and the first or the second weekly close below the previous cycle all-time high. So it's not looking good. Indeed, it seems as if the magnet is drawing us down to that 200-week moving average over here. That seems to be the target that many people have set for the bottom of this bear market, which also happens to coincide with the realized price, although many people think it could go below that. Indeed, Aaron, you can go and watch some of his latest videos on the trading channel as well. He also has that theory that it's going below that to potentially like the 300-week moving average. And so that's on the weekly chart. I can also show you on the monthly chart. It's also not looking too good, guys. And here's what's really interesting as well. Is still on the screen, right? Here we have basically the monthly chart, and as you will have seen, we now are we're going towards our fifth negative monthly close. So ever since October last year, we've had a negative red month, and we've now on our fifth negative monthly close. And yeah, it's not looking good at all. So on track for that. And finally, if we're talking about records, this is the Bitcoin to gold chart. And I will note that it is now on a record, potentially. If we close this month in the red on the Bitcoin gold chart, this will be the 7th monthly close of Bitcoin gold that's in negative. And it will be a record because we've never had that before since the beginning of Bitcoin's Genesis block. So yeah, right. Price action not looking too good through multiple timelines. And I think that many people are just watching now. Are we going to go towards that 200-week moving average near that realized on-chain price of between 55 to 60K? And I think that that's indeed what we've seen in terms of current softness in the market.
Yeah. I've heard a rumor that if that close happens, if that record close happens, then just a whole load of laughing Peter Schiff faces appear on the chart, and there's nothing you can do to get rid of them. Let's hope that's not true.
Peter Schiff and the gold member, the gold member from Austin Powers, remember?
Yes. Yeah. Peter Schiff, dressed as gold member, he pops up, and it doesn't end well. Okay, so basically the charts are an absolute dog's breakfast. So I guess we have to ask why. And I think there are a few reasons that we can point to for this. Let me just share my screen here, because here's the first one. This is Cointelegraph reporting this. Now, obviously, Bitcoin is no longer 69K, but we did see some improvement in the inflation data. However, there's very little chance that we're going to get another Fed rate cut anytime soon. And in fact, I'm seeing elsewhere people talking about maybe no rate cut until June at the earliest.
Yeah, I think some bank analysts have come out with those forecasts. The first we'll potentially see is in June. It could change because we have in about 23 minutes the PCE numbers coming out. Obviously, the Fed's preferred inflation measure. We'll see where they come in. But it also, if you recall, this week we had the FOMC minutes. And the minutes were slightly hawkish. Yes. They were in favor of, quote, two-sided language, which means they wanted to not completely eliminate the possibility of rate hikes from their wording. So they wanted to tone down the dovish tone. So therefore, the chances of rate cuts are slimming. And if it is June, it's June, but it's far, far less than what people were hoping for at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm trying to pull it up here. Struggling to find the tab, but we're also seeing the DAT meta kind of very much not so much running out of steam as dying. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk around strategy. They had their earnings call recently where the CEO sort of basically said 8K is the price, is the Bitcoin price, where things get a bit hairy. And look, I don't think there are many people out there who reckon Bitcoin is going to 8K or indeed kind of anywhere near there, really. But I think just having that number quoted by someone from strategy was sort of enough to kind of really give people the willies, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they didn't have to say it necessarily. I think that also one of the concerns was not concerns, but one of the memeable moments from last week, we talked about it in the stream on Monday, was when Michael Saylor was asked on the CNBC, if you get to the 8K level, what happens? We'll just refinance the debt. We'll just roll it. And then that infamous face from that anchor was kind of like, something like that, to the extent of how you're going to refinance debt. But it's interesting because subsequent to that, Saylor came out with and clarified that over time, strategy is going to try and, quote, equitize that debt. So essentially reduce the converts themselves and pay them back. It will come with the dilution of current common, but the goal is to basically get to sustainable levels for that debt, so that if they even do get to that 8K level, they'll be able to they'll be net debt 1-to-1. So or in terms of like their debt to their assets. So yeah, I mean, that's strategy, right? And that's just strategy. As we've seen, many of the other copycats are not faring as well.
Yeah, and that's why I bring up this headline from Crypto Slate here this couple of days ago. I think Peter Thiel, sort of getting out of ETHZilla, which is one of, I mean, it's not the largest Ethereum DAT. I think that's still Bitmine, isn't it? I mean, I think this kind of is not terribly surprising. I think strategy is one story, but there are plenty of other DATs, and I think really the worry is much more around them than around the likes of strategy and what have you. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously concerns around the DAT meta. There's also, I mean, we're now seemingly at the stage of the cycle where projects themselves start giving up. Let me just find my find what I want to share here, because here we are. Parsec, which I heard of, but I didn't know an awful lot about. They are
OGs from the DeFi summer and 2022's DeFi meta, basically tracking on-chain movements, and it was quite a successful project then, or tool. But given just the lack of volatility, given that there's not that much interest in trading in terms of DeFi-related stuff, DeFi degeneracy these days, especially on Ethereum, they basically decided to close down. And I think that we're going to start seeing more and more of this. Indeed, we've seen some already. So that there's this silent quitting of projects that are winding up.
Yeah. And just to really remember, it's called FUD and FOMO. So just to really sort of pile on the FUD here, I want to. I saw this headline in CoinDesk, and I think it's worth sharing, because I think So this is Neil Kashkari of the Minnesota Fed, Minneapolis Fed. Sorry, Minneapolis Fed.
The guy who looks like the mummy.
Yes, the guy who looks a little bit scary. I kind of thought, well, okay, this is the sort of FUD we see quite a lot, but I kind of feel, this is how, unfortunately, just a lot of people feel, and not just people in retail, but people whose opinions, powerful people, I guess, people with influence, people who have the ear of the government and the financial system. So I kind of. This is just sort of standard FUD, but I kind of think this is what we're fighting against, and it seems like these guys are kind of people with this opinion are very much in the ascendancy at the moment.
Yeah, quote, buzzword salad. At least it sounds healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously read a few crypto pitches in his time, but it's so. That's just kind of where we are market-wise at the moment. So really, as we're going to discuss in a little bit, like it's the possibility of the Clarity Act passing is really our biggest hope at the moment, right?
Indeed it is. But before we get onto that, FOMO, we have to address another piece of really imminent FUD. But before we do, guys, let's just roll to our first sponsor slot.
Coinbase is offering up to 150 euros in BTC when you create and verify an account there and use it to buy some crypto. So scan the QR code on screen now to get access to all the amazing products and services offered by one of the world's biggest and best known exchanges. Restrictions apply. See terms and conditions for more details.
Thank you to Coinbase. So, Guy, are you worried about an imminent attack on Iran over the weekend, given that we are incredibly close? In fact, just over the straits over there, we could see some Tomahawk cruise missiles flying.
It's not terribly far away. I was up in Ras Al Khaimah with Mrs. Guy a while back, and that's even closer there. That's like right at the southern end of the Strait of Hormuz, and we're just sort of sitting out there having dinner. And I was like, "That's Iran over there." not all that far away. So,
Jeez.
yeah, it's a little bit concerning. So, yeah, at the moment, there's a lot of talk about how basically US military assets in the region are there's a lot more of them than there were a few days ago, right?
That's an understatement. It's the biggest buildup of U.S. military equipment and hardware in the Middle East since before the Iraqi invasion. So, shit's about to go down. And in terms of the latest, you can, so that's, we can share the video there. But in terms of the latest updates.
Let me just scroll down on that. God, I've got so many tabs open.
Yeah, Guy. Should I handle the tech support?
Where even is my Bloomberg? I think you might have to. There we are. Right. Yes, there we are. Biggest force since 2000. Oh my word.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Yeah. So it seems something's about to happen. And in terms of when it could happen, like Trump has given a deadline about 10 to 15 days for a potential deal. They are negotiating, although Iran is slow walking to a degree. The latest news on the Wall Street Journal, if you just want to share that, guys, that the attack could be limited to the extent that it will they'll try to bring them back to the negotiating table to kind of speed things along. So not a full-blown attack yet. The US could basically just do a limited pinpoint precision attack that they hope that could potentially scare the Iranians into come to the table. Something else that I found pretty interesting, and I mean this is probably outside the scope necessarily of crypto alpha, but this is military aviation alpha for you guys, because we don't only specialize in crypto insights here as well.
we're having to expand our range of expertise somewhat.
I'm just going to share this. This is pretty interesting. I found this interesting, right? So there's the question of, okay, well, is this all just for show? Is the US really planning some massive weeks-long operation to attack Iran? And there's this news, and the US has deployed nearly 40% of their entire E3 Sentry AWACS fleet. Now, for those guys who don't know, the E3 Sentry is like a Boeing 737 or 707 variant that is specifically used for command and control operations. So for managing the airspace in and around an active theater of war. And the fact that they've actually deployed these assets, which aren't there for show because they're innocuous or look non-lethal, shows that there are bigger plans afoot. So yeah, that's a bit of alpha there for you. And so it seems
they're
like
they're not in the region to do a bit of sightseeing.
No, definitely not. And I actually have
an
take on
this.
Yeah, exactly. So when is Trump going to attack Iran, right? And there's many theories out there in terms of when it could happen. And I think that it's definitely not going to happen right now, right? Not at least right now. He's going to wait until the market's closed in the US to launch a maximum attack such that the only assets you can sell are cryptocurrency specifically. So that's exactly what he's waiting for. So just wait for this weekend, guys. We're going to get a massive dump. And then Monday, the war will be over and stocks will be up and crypto will still be down.
Everyone will be taking the money that they've made from selling their Bitcoin and just piling it into defense stocks on Monday morning.
Yeah. So what happens now in terms of markets? I think that
let me just add this here. So yeah, oil is an issue, right?
Oil's a big issue. First one, obviously, oil is slightly up. The Straits of Hormuz, that everyone knows is a massive choke point. If they're going to retaliate in an economic way, they could just mine the Strait of Hormuz. This would spike oil prices globally and impact on inflation. So there is that potential risk. So that's one thing. But I mean, that's oil prices. I mean, in terms of risk assets, as I mentioned, it's likely if you're going to have a confrontation, a global geopolitical event like this, that risk assets are likely to fall. Stocks and other high beta assets such as Bitcoin and crypto, which is likely to also take a tumble. Indeed, if you remember last year, Guy, we had that massive wick down to, at that stage it was 71K. Those are the days when the 12-day war kicked off between Israel and Iran. So, yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's some interesting takes in the media, particularly this one that you spotted in the FT, Nick, that maybe this is kind of Iran actually wants a conflict, because I think the gist of this article is that basically the Iranians feel that they've got nothing from negotiating, and from what I understand, like the US negotiation position is not all that. What would you say? Accommodating. It's sort of like, well, give up your nuclear weapons, do everything we want, and I don't think there's any talk about like lifting sanctions or anything like that.
It's not just give up your nuclear weapons. It's basically completely disarm. Give up all your missile stocks. Become defanged entirely. So essentially, you can't defend yourself. It's defenseless. Mm-hmm. And the Iranian regime is looking at themselves. They're like, well, this is just the pretense to something more. And if you recall, I think there's stories about how this happened to Saddam and Gaddafi. Remember what happened to Gaddafi? He gave up his nukes. He gave up his aspirations, all that kind of stuff. And then he was still, eventually deposed and executed. So I think that the Iranians are trying to make the calculation about actually, if you guys aren't going to be, and also, why would they believe that any sort of negotiated deal with the US is worth its weight Because let's not forget the 2015 deal, which the US negotiated. They pulled out of that. And last year, when they were trying to negotiate with the US in terms of the nuclear deal, the Israelis attacked them during the negotiations when they were supposed to meet them. So I don't know. I don't think they'd be all too willing to come to the table and agree on something right now.
Yeah. There's also some interesting talk about, okay, if there is a war, with all the consequences that will bring, obviously on Iran and of course, for markets and everyone else, this will be felt around the world. But then it doesn't seem like there's any real. It's not very clear at all who would fill the gap. And I think this Wall Street Journal article draws the comparison. You mentioned it earlier, Nick, with what happened in Iraq after the US-led invasion there. It was just years and years of anarchy, hundreds of thousands of people killed. And, it could happen again. Iran is such a big country. And there's such a huge range of different kind of, groups and sectors of society in different regions and what have you, that there's a high likelihood that if the current regime is deposed, there's no guarantee that what replaces them is better. It could actually be worse.
There's many, For example, one is sectarian in terms of sectarian strife. At least 50% there's lots of Kurds and other ethnic groups in Iran as well who don't necessarily want all the control with the other ethnic groups. There's also the fact that you make the assumption that everyone in the population is against the regime or necessarily is happy with that. They're talking about the son of the Shah coming in potentially, right? But there's many people in Iran, from this article at least, I'm not saying I'm just saying what the article is saying, is that there's many people in Iran who remember the previous Shah, and they don't like it's some of the some of the centralization of control and some of the impact and some of the ruling parties then. So there's that argument as well. It's like you're making this assumption that everyone wants this new Shah to come in, which is not necessarily clear. So there's not an organized opposition. And if you take out, for example, the supreme leader, there's still so many people below him, including the IRGC guards and everything. And if you know about how entrenched the IRGC is in terms of Iranian society, in terms of not just economically, in terms of the controlling all the economic power levers, but also locally in terms of how they've embedded themselves in the society. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully if there's anyone who's in the comments who's Iranian, maybe, who's watching this in a VPN, they can let us know how things are there. But it's yeah.
Yeah. People making the point here as well. I mean, this is important to consider as well. Quite apart from the effect that it might have on markets, which is kind of why we're talking about it. But also, as someone pointing out there, there are two things I think to consider from a purely US standpoint. One, as pointed out there, kind of stops people talking about the Epstein files. Which I still dominate. I mean, actually, ironically, they're dominating the conversation in like the UK. I think far more than they appear to be in the US. Which is
I was telling you, it's crazy. So did you see the news yesterday? Apparently, Trump has released classified files on UFO sightings. It's like, can you imagine just like the ruse? It's like, here's left hand. Yeah, you got some UFO sightings. He'll probably release every single classified file in the whole of the database of the CIA, the NSA, the Pentagon, everything before he releases the Epstein files. Everything but the Epstein files. So it's like, it's a massive distraction from that, bro.
Yeah. It's also the fact that, and we talk about this in the Coin Bureau newsletter, which is going to go out on Sunday. But there's also the fact that the midterms are coming up, and the primaries for those midterm elections. The midterms themselves aren't until November, but the primaries actually start next month in March. So the clock is kind of very much ticking on that as well. And I think there's a sense that if Trump wants to get certain things done, then he has to go now. Like, he has to move now, not only to sort of get that off get that done, but also, in theory, to be able to take that to the American people and go, look, I just dealt with Iran. I'm strong on foreign policy. Blah blah blah. Don't look at the Epstein files. I've got everything under control. Look at the markets. Look at the Dow is at 50,000 or whatever it is. There's definitely a sense, I think, as well, that this is being done with an eye to November.
Yeah. Then he gives a quick call to BB asking if he did okay. But before we go, obviously, we want to get into some FOMO as well. We've covered a lot of FUD so far. Before we get onto the FOMO, though, if you guys are wanting to trade the markets in terms of what's going to happen with traditional financial markets, maybe on the metal side, Binance has released their futures instruments, and they've recently surpassed billions in trading volume, which, of course, brings us nicely to our next sponsor.
Hey, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsors of this live stream, Binance. Now, if you need an exchange that has loads of trading pairs, loads of liquidity, and a fantastic interface to boot, then Binance is the place to go. And if you sign up using this QR code, you're not only eligible for up to $600 in sign-up bonuses, but you'll also get a 20% trading fee discount for life. Yes, that is for life. So a big thanks to Binance for sponsoring this stream. And speaking of which, let's get back to it.
Yes, thank you to Binance. Okay, Nick, we need to talk about some possible good news for crypto. So should we talk about the Clarity Act?
Yeah, because it seems as if there was a lot of movement on it this week, especially on the prediction markets. I think we're trading at about 70% chance of it passing now. And that's because of some news about the meeting yesterday, right, Guy?
Yes, I'm just trying to, I don't know why it's not adding it to the screen. Basically it was reported, CoinDesk were talking about this. The White House basically wants to get this moving. So if you're familiar with what's been going on with the Clarity Act of late, then there we are, finally. Then you'll know that basically there was the big sticking point is yield on stablecoins. The banks, unsurprisingly, are not keen on the idea of stablecoin holders being able to earn a yield, because that yield can be, up to sort of 4% or more. Whereas, if you've ever tried to get that sort of interest rate from a bank on your savings, you'll be laughed out of town. So the banks are very much opposed to stablecoin yield. Whereas obviously the likes of Coinbase, who are kind of the primary platform that are offering to pass this on to their users, Coinbase is very much in favor. And the Clarity Act obviously really stalled a few weeks ago when Brian Armstrong basically pulled the plug and said, no, we're not supporting, because the banks were trying to insert, text into the final draft of the bill that, banned stablecoin yield. And Coinbase said, no, we're not going to stand for that.
Yeah, exactly. And it seemed as if, Brian Armstrong wasn't he basically got castigated by Jamie Dimon at the World Economic Forum, called quote, a jerk or something like that, or full of shit or something like that. But anyways, it seemed as if they came back to the table twice more. It was like last week there was the reported that the banks were intransigent, they weren't budging. But this was a lot more productive, and you've got the news, for example, Paul Grayval, which is from Coinbase, the legal counsel. He said that they had productive discussions. So, and also we had Brad Garlinghouse. Yeah, exactly. And then we had Brad Garlinghouse, who came out and said that there's a very high chance. I think he even quoted 90% chance, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, Brad, and this is interesting because there is this split in the crypto industry. The likes of Ripple are, they want to work with this. They want to. Their view has been, well, no bill, a bad bill is better than no bill at all. Whereas Coinbase is sort of like, no, there's no point. And I must say, I'm kind of with Coinbase on this one. It's like, if you pass that bill and it has those anti-stablecoin provisions in it, then it will be an uphill battle to get that changed. I kind of think, it's once the bill's passed, let's move on. Something else will take up the agenda. So I think you've kind of got to get it. You've got to get it right from the start. Otherwise, you're kind of kneecapping the crypto industry, I think, because, this is the idea of being able to earn yield on your stablecoins. Like, that is one of the great benefits that crypto offers. And God knows, as we've seen, a lot of people don't think that crypto offers any benefits. So if we're going to kneecap something like that, then we're really in trouble.
Yeah, indeed. I think that the most important thing, there's probably going to be a meeting at some point in the next week or so. The White House says they want to have it by the end of the month. So we've got at least a few more days left. So there's going to be a lot of movements going on. Right now, the odds are before 2027 at 68% on Kalshi for the passing of this bill. But even if we get through the yield questions, right? Let's not forget, we get through the yield questions, and the banks and the crypto industry comes to some sort of an agreement. There's still one big factor guys haven't thought about, and that's to pass. It needs to have support from some Democrats, and there are still outstanding questions around DeFi security, and also the biggest one, of course, is ethics, and the Democrats are going to try and insist on some sort of ethics guardrails, probably targeted at Trump in terms of what he's been doing in the crypto space. So that could be a massive sticking point. So those are two obstacles still.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I think it's definitely positive that the White House is sort of trying to push a resolution to this, but whether they'll be able to do it. I mean, the banks are an extraordinarily powerful lobby, and they seem to be pretty united on this. Whereas the crypto side, as I pointed out, the likes of Ripple and Coinbase are kind of on opposite sides of this. So whether they'll be able to sort of face down the banks and get through on this, and I think this is a good point from Brett here. Crypto should never accept anything which is not perfect. We've survived this long without any regulation. BTC was meant to disrupt and disconnect us from TradFi, so don't accept unless perfect. Which I must say, many of the things Brett says, I wholly disagree with, especially when he makes comments about my weight. But I must say, Brett, I'm with you on this one. I think, like I said earlier, if we accept this compromise, I don't think there'll be any coming back from it. So I think we've kind of got to stand our ground as an industry.
Indeed. Just quickly, guys, breaking right now. We have PCE numbers. that have come out, just to let you, because I mentioned it a bit earlier. So basically, they are out and they're slightly higher than expected. So we have PCE year on year 2.9 versus 2.8 expected, and it's slightly above the previous reading as well. Similarly, core PCE came in a bit higher than expected as well. And GDP, Q4 GDP, not good either, 1.4. So, and by the way, guys, if you want to get these updates quickly and the moment they break, don't forget about the Coin Bureau Telegram channel. We'll leave a link down to it below as well, but we post it on the Telegram and Twitter as well. So the numbers are out. And Guy, what do you, just without looking at charts, what do you think Bitcoin's doing?
I would imagine Bitcoin is heading down and to the right.
Yeah, you are right. Yeah, you are right. Unfortunately, given that we are, comes in hotter than expected, therefore the likelihood of a rate cut coming is probably being pushed back further. If the inflation is still a concern, it's actually quite a high above expectations, and the GDP numbers. So yeah, there we go. Just below 67K now, going into a illiquid weekend on a Friday, just before Trump announces a launch on Iran. Lovely, man. This is going to be such a good weekend. Can we just go?
This is going to be one of those weekends for touching grass, I think. This suggests to me that I should just eat my body weight at the iftar this evening and then spend most of the weekend in a food coma. I think that's probably the best thing to do.
I mean, just log out for a few weeks, guys, maybe a month or two. Probably best, man.
Except to watch our live streams on Monday, because we've got another one coming your way on Monday, and then we'll be doing another one of these, not next Friday, but the Friday after that.
Delete all the other apps. Don't log onto the news. Go on, only download the YouTube app. Unsubscribe from all the other channels you are subscribed to. Leave the Coin Bureau podcast, Coin Bureau Finance. Subscribe to those. Set your notifications, and you're sorted. That's all you need in life. That's the only information you need. That's it, guys. That's what's needed. Yeah.
Someone reminding us, we can short too. Yeah, that's one way. That's one way to make it even worse, is to then start playing with leverage as well. So beware. Okay, Nick. Well, I'm going to go and, like I said, get thoroughly stuffed with food at an iftar. Have you got a nice weekend planned?
Yeah. I've also got an iftar planned, although on the other side of town. I'm going to now sit in a nice hour-long traffic. It's great way to start the weekend. But why not? Alone with my thoughts. Maybe.
Oh God!
It's gonna be fun.
Oh God! Oh dear!
But yeah, celebrate our blessings. Celebrate, having family, being healthy, and obviously, unfortunately, monetary-wise, can't celebrate the markets. But be grateful for the markets. But be grateful for everything else. For health and happiness, not wealth, but health and happiness right now.
Yeah. Well, there we are, folks. I think we're already in Chinese New Year.
Yeah, it started a few days ago, right?
It was 17th, wasn't it? I think we're already in the year of the fire horse. Year of the fire horse, Nick. It's not just any old horse. It's the fire horse.
So why is it different from? How is it different from other horses? Other horse years? Why is the fire horse supposed to be?
Nick, crypto I can do. Explanations of the Chinese zodiac cycle are slightly above my pay grade. I mean, I can look it up for you. Can I get back to you on that one, Nick?
I mean, yeah, sure, Guy. I mean, I thought we want to give as much alpha and information. I bring like the unique insights on the E3 Sentry flying around Iran, and you can't even tell us about the Chinese zodiac, mate.
Listen, I need a bit more preparation than that. Don't spring Chinese zodiac questions on me like that.
The fire horse, okay. So we've got a video coming out about that, right? At some point.
Yes.
The implication of the year of the horse on markets.
Yeah, because it does have an effect on markets, not because of anything sort of woo-woo or zodiac, but because how people react to that news. It's actually very interesting. So, keep a lookout for that. Happy Year of the Fire Horse to one and all of you, and we will see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.